That's no moon. It's a space station.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. You might notice that Aaron is here with me in town in St. Louis. It's been, man, a year probably since you've been here and we've done one together
Yeah,
in person.
probably about that, yeah.
It's been a minute. So it's always fun having Aaron back here with me. And we have a returning guest. This will be his fourth time with us, Dan Cooper. Hey, we'll get into him in just a minute. But before that, I just want to remind everybody that tickets are on sale for our conference in May 12th through the 15th in Grafton, Illinois. JourneyToTruth.online has all that information. That link is below in the description. The lodge itself is sold out as it does every year, but there is, hotels and Airbnbs and camping. So there, even though it might look like you can't stay on site, that doesn't mean the conference is sold out. So you can also join the Telegram group and get with people and maybe find somebody who's looking for a roommate. That's always a good option as well. But JourneyToTruth.online, all that information is available there, and grab a ticket and come hang out. We'd love to see you there. So today, like I said, we're joined by Dan Cooper again, who is a senior advisor to the Earth Alliance. Like I said, we've done 3 interviews with him, and they were all fascinating interviews. And today we're specifically going to focus on his Overunity Generator, which we covered in episode 3, I think. Well, we covered it in a few episodes.
Yeah.
But Dan is an inventor, among many other things. And before we get into all that, I guess, Dan, we'll give you an opportunity to better introduce yourself for the audience who may not know who you are. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, guys. Who am I? Okay, well, let's see. Currently, I'm retired. I worked, I suppose my career was 20 years as a paralegal. I wasn't allowed to have a license. The CIA arrested me in 1996, when I was attending law school. They arrested me and put me under indentured servitude, which means I had to work for them for the next 18 years. I escaped, but that's a long story. Anyway, so I had to work for them for 18 years for no pay. And I won every case they handed me. And they never gave me anything that was easy. So that was a very illustrious career. I mean, I enjoyed it tremendously. I didn't like not getting paid and being treated like, an outsider. But I knew one day, that would change and that this would all change, that we'd get rid of the deep state out of these agencies. I knew the day would come. So I retired in 2014 from the practice of law. Basically, I told the agency I wasn't going to do that anymore. And they said, well, we're just going to kill you and your children. And I said, well, go ahead, good luck with that. But now I'm a physicist. Too bad. Don't like it. Then from 2014 to 2016, I actually discovered quite a bit. It was like really amazing. In the summer of 2014, a lifer in the Navy. Well, he spent 40 years in the Navy, and all he did was develop weapons for the Navy. He managed those projects. So he came on to me in 2014, and then I was in about September. No, he showed me in August of 2014. He showed me the Boyd Bushman video, but I got to see the whole thing unredacted, and it didn't really sink in much. It didn't really make any sense. But it was interesting in the sense of the thing that really got me was that there were 8 fundamental forces of nature, not just 4, 8. Oh, that was cool. And so I had it on the back of my head. And then a couple of months later, I had actually discovered the 6th force independently on my own. I observed it in nature. And I described that to you guys before out of my dryer in my laundry room. But we won't do that one again. Anyway, so I discovered the 6th force. It's the anti-gravity force. It was the force that Nikola Tesla had discovered in, I believe, 1890 is my best guess. And he discovered the same way I did in his lab. And then he developed the 6th force ever since then, from there. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is because we're all about to, you've all been told that's real. So, and we're about to get these things now. Okay. So in 1901, he had invented the first transporter with the 6th force. That's where he transported, well, he actually transported a number of animals, but his the photo that he signed with the gorilla in the cage, that was when he transported the gorilla from one cage into another in the same lab. So we know the 6 ports is used for transporters. I've actually been able to reverse engineer that specific device. And then we'll find out from Andrew Basiago, I don't know how to pronounce the name, I'm sorry, that the time traveler on the temporal management command under David Bagley. That was David Bagley's command, U.S. Navy Admiral David Bagley. And the Bagleys actually had continued to command temporal management command. It's definitely all during the time Andrew was there, and he gave them their missions. So the point is that he had described the 2 technologies that they were using. Originally, they were using a Nikola Tesla time traveling device, which is actually the same device. It's just tweaked a little bit different. The same device that he showed you in his lab, where he had transported the gorilla, same one, 1901. So shortly after 1901, he had actually discovered time travel, and they started using that device. Well, they didn't really, I don't know when they perfected it, but it was Admiral Bagley in 53 when they really got going. But Andrew says 50, but doesn't matter. The point is that the first time travel device was a 6-force time travel device, and the second one was compressed plasma. And that's how so when you see a plasma orb or a plasma ship, those are usually time travel devices. Those are time travel ships or time travel orbs. And we know that because compressed plasma was the second means of that the the deep state uses. They use that second form, and that's the primary form they're still using. Basagio accurately describes that he says you can just carry, in a little box and bring it into a room. A couple little, it's really simple. They carry them around. Anyway, go ahead and ask some questions.
So, okay, they carry them around. What do they carry around?
This is a time travel device. They 3 people walk into a room with a time travel device in it, and then Basagio walks through it. So it's just not a really huge giant thing that's in a lab. They can walk around with this thing.
Right. It's very portable.
Yeah, and that was
what Basagio's saying. He describes it accurately.
And that was back.
Yeah.
That was back then. I only imagine. I've heard people say it's gotten to like the size of a cell phone or a credit card now.
Yeah. But the thing is that he's walking through a device, and then he doesn't have control where he lands. That's why the future ones, the better ones, are ships. You don't land anywhere. You're in the ship. The ship goes.
That makes sense. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So
yeah. Go ahead.
Well, go ahead. Were you going to say something?
Oh, I was just saying, so those orbs, the plasma orbs, they're here to record in 3D and other better recordings of this event. This event is the negotiation. These are the negotiations that have been going on for over a year. I came on in September of last year. So the negotiations were going on, I believe it started in January, but maybe it could have been sooner. The deep state is negotiating their surrender. It's called a surrender instrument. It's not called a treaty. They're negotiating their surrender with the Earth Alliance and the Trump administration. The Trump administration isn't in the Earth Alliance formally. The BRICS Alliance is the formal Earth Alliance, and then the Trump administration and the Trump administration. Anyway.
Right. Okay. So what do those negotiations look like? Were you a part of it?
Oh no. I don't get to actually attend. I just know you got evidence of it already. Cash comes out and he says, we hold no animosity and we're not going to seek revenge. That means that it's not the final negotiations. I'm just telling you what he said and what it means. Okay. That's not the final negotiations. We're not done yet because there's no ceasefire. There'll be a ceasefire everywhere. And the deep state will stop. The deep state hadn't stopped engaging in war with us. We're still at war with them. There's no ceasefire yet. So negotiations aren't completed yet. What Cash was telling you is what that means is when you say we hold no animosity and we're not going to seek revenge, that means amnesty. And whether amnesty is conditional or whether amnesty is unconditional, well, of course, the deep state says unconditional because, conditional means, well, we have an issue. Because if we don't tell you everything, well, then we lose our immunity. We lose our amnesty, and we can't possibly tell you everything. I mean, we might accidentally not, it's like, or you could just say we did, So they didn't like the conditional term. They wanted unconditional amnesty. Trump had no problem with that, but Xi and Putin, no, they're having real problems with that. But the biggest issue is, well, what technology is going to be released? So they're saying, so Cash is telling you, all right, well, we're going to subpoena that tech. And if they don't turn it over, then we're going to withdraw their security clearance, which means they can no longer work on military. They can't sell anything to the military to get work on anything to the military. And it means other things, but it's not discontinuity. It's not nationalizing those corporations and taking them over. It's not a government takeover. It's just, well, we're just going to not let you do business with us anymore. That's continuity. That's what the deep state wants. They want all the corporations. They want them to continue to operate, and that's a big issue for Xi and Putin. There's a lot of they're having a lot of problems with that one. The amount of the technology that's going to be turned over, what we're finding out right now is the deep state, it doesn't want to fess up to any off-world assets. These guys own 26 planets. They got 900 embassies all throughout this galaxy alone. The assets are phenomenal. Of course, they don't want to disclose their assets. Wow. So that's a big problem we're having. Trump's having a big problem with that. The kind of technology is going to be disclosed. They came out and they said originally, told you it was going to be a Floyd, which is about this size.
The Floyd generator?
Yeah. The 1980s, it was originally invented. It could be Floyd Sweet, but it may not be Floyd Sweet. It doesn't matter. It's Floyd. The cigarette-sized generator will kick out 300 horsepower. 300 horsepower is 223.7 kilowatts. Okay. A Tesla S uses 360 kilowatts maximum, but it can't use it for very long because it's drawing too much energy out of the battery. But when you use an Overunity generator, you have to deliver as much as the maximum amount you need. That's 360 kilowatts for his S. It's, I think, 700 kilowatts for the truck, Anyway, that's 4 of the cigarettes. That's 4 of those packs, not one, But that's not much. That's just, about that much to run the Tesla truck, right? Okay, now, Elon wants that really bad, of course, because he's out of business if he doesn't get that generator. But the problem with that generator is it's a little too powerful. You can put it in a laser rifle. It has to be secured because it's too powerful. And it can be used for a lot of weapons. And unless you have absolute martial control over the entire planet, no, you have to secure the device. You have to put the device into a container that if anybody tries to get the container, then it merely melts down the device. See, right. Because it's not the technology. Remember, they want to. That's another story we're going to talk about. The Chinese want everything open source. We'll talk about that one. Big mistake, also. Anyway, so it has to be secured. That's extremely expensive. It's also kind of brittle and it's temperature sensitive, so it has to be environmentally controlled. Now all of a sudden you're talking about 2 cubic feet for one cigarette container or bigger, which is okay, because that's still a lot smaller than the battery. But Elon Musk can't operate a electric vehicle business if he doesn't get the Floyd. Well, the Floyd has problems, and it makes it exceedingly expensive. It is a security issues and other issues, and it makes it exceedingly expensive to manufacture. Now, mind you, when they open source this, they pop it as raw tech. It's not applied. They don't know how to apply it. Remember, I talked to the chief engineers at Tesla Motors way back when. By the way, Elon Musk banned me for life, and I wanted to discuss. He banned me for life. I'm banned for life. I can never associate or talk to anybody. That was way back when. He wouldn't do that now. But back then, it was like I said, "Hey, I want to discuss, Overunity. I think it's possible, and I want to discuss, what you think of Charles Flynn's motor." And man, I got shut down real bad. No, that's impossible. Or use it possible. You're a crazy man. Is it okay? And you're banned from our site for life. Okay, just for simply asking about Overunity. Now, of course, everybody knows it's true, and we're all waiting for the generators. Okay, but the Floyd's too powerful, and it's extremely expensive, and that'll end up being about $100,000 to $120,000 just for a Tesla S. Well, that's not imaging, guys. That's not what they're advertising. Okay.
Right.
So in order to, now I also have one that's about that does that much and is that size. Okay. But I know that's an issue. I know it's a problem. Okay. That's too expensive. So the idea was, then I thought, well, let me back off and design a simpler one. It's not so powerful. Couldn't be used in a laser rifle or anything like that. Doesn't have to be secured because it doesn't have any weird, components in it that kick off radiation. That's thorium generator. We'll talk about that one too. And that was the Trump administration was all into the thorium generator, thorium reactor. We'll get into that one. Anyway, so this cheaper generator, I ended up figuring out how to design it out of regular components. So for the same size, I get 10 kilowatts. Well, you say, well, that 10 kilowatts isn't 223, Dan. Well, no, but you can't put mine in a laser rifle, but mine will run your house and it'll run your car. Well, wait a second. You just said that the Tesla S requires 360 kilowatts. I'm sorry, 360 kilowatts continuous. They only use it for a few minutes, but they really want it continuous. Everybody wants it continuous, okay? Which you can get if you have the Floyd. But okay, 10 kilowatts isn't 360 kilowatts, Dan. No. Well, what we found out, and the science is published, and also not super secret, is that you could take a 10 kilowatt generator and you can run a compressor that's available now. It's not patented, just available. And I gave you the article where they talked about that. Now, they were only working with 200 watts and they were getting a car to run. So if you got 10 kilowatts, you can pump out 400 horsepower or anything else. So we're finding out when we examine across the board, all vehicles, not just cars, but what are the vehicles that are moving, product? Well, that's all your bigger vehicles, your 18 wheelers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what we're finding out is that it's a lot cheaper and tremendously cheaper to make an air compressed engine to do those functions rather than electric motors. Electric motors are fine for small cars, little tiny trucks. No, not for anything big. So the best way to go and the cheapest way to go, which will bring it down to about $9,000 or $10,000 for a regular car, maybe 12 to 15,000 for a big SUV. These things will run forever. 30, you can guarantee them for 10 years. They'll guarantee them for 10, but they'll run for 30.
And this is an Overunity generator that you have designed or invented?
Yes. And it's verified by that 40-year veteran in the Navy. And other there's another electrical engineer that verified it.
And we went over, for people who are listening, we went over these patents on episode 3. I think we went over some of your patents that you yeah. So okay, how is this? You said prior to going on air here that you had been in communication with the Trump administration about the rollout of this technology. What was that like?
I said that you should do a strategic business plan and talk to strategic business planners throughout the country. And I made a proposal to do that with him and for him, but he didn't do that. So now he's kind of knee jerking, which is fine. That's okay. And then I keep, interjecting with some comments. I'm adding these comments that they got just before about a week. See, and then how far that gets up, I don't know, but I'm hoping that they'll start listening. Because it doesn't matter if they're listening, because I'm going to get to go build my generator and my car, and we're going to sell them for 10 grand a piece. And then even if Elon gets the Floyd, which is a huge mistake, he's going to go sell the same car for 100 grand. I mean, okay.
Right.
I'm going to put my generator in your houses and sell electricity for 1/10 of a penny per kilowatt hour. That's $20 a year, folks. Runs everything in your house. All the heat, all the air conditioning, everything. Much as you want to use.
Okay.
So they can't do that. Elon can't do that with the Floyd. It's going to be super expensive.
So let's talk about this. You wanted to come on the show before Stephen Greer starts releasing. I forgot what you said he was going to start releasing.
You're going to start talking to actually upper level deep state management. You're going to talk to one of the 200, the committee of 200. There's a committee of 200 that rules. I've told you that before. They basically consist of a lot of large corporations, both aerospace and other technical research and development companies in the United States. That's your deep state. Those are the boards of directors and the major stockholders of those corporations. Those are your guys. Those are your people. Bobby Ray Inman, his company, he's actually in the 200. Now the guy who was he's retired, was one of the 200 who ruled this world for more than 70 years. And many other worlds. This is not a nobody you thought you're going to hear from. So he ruled the world for quite some time and retired.
Who's this?
I don't know his name yet. That's who Greer. You asked me who Greer's going to bring out. I'm telling you who he is.
Oh, okay.
I don't know the name. I haven't seen the film yet. The disclosure.
Right.
But,
Okay. So this guy allegedly, not just this Earth, ruled this Earth, but other planets as well.
Well, the deep state rules many planets. They own 26 outright. The last time I counted, at least 26. They have 900 embassies throughout the galaxy. And each embassy is in a different solar system with a different species.
Interesting.
We do business with them. The business locale is that big satellite, 12-kilometer satellite around Saturn. It's not a satellite. It's not a moon. It's a satellite. It's our satellite. That's where we do all the business.
Ganymede? Or no, that's the one around Jupiter.
Saturn.
That's around Jupiter. Yeah.
Ganymede is a moon.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's a satellite. No, that's an ancient Bills-Ray satellite. You're correct. Ganymede is a satellite. No, it's our satellite. The Deep State satellite is a 12-kilometer satellite where they do business with these 900 species. That's what you're seeing with the drones. Everybody's in town. A lot of these ETs are in town to see the event. The change of power. It's a big deal because these people hold a lot of power. These people hold a lot of power in the galaxy. So there's a lot of people here to witness it. The changeover in power. I don't think Trump realizes how much power he's about to take on. Well, that's okay.
Well, okay. So Stephen Greer's getting ready to basically not release this guy, but introduce this guy to the public. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, he already interviewed these people. These interviews are already done. This guy actually takes you down into several dumps. Or other people. He has other people that are also real deep state people, and they're really going to take you into a real deep state dump. And these are already filmed. Trump's already seen all this stuff. He's talked to the guys.
So is Stephen Greer, is he just like a deep state shill basically? Is he owned by them or
no.
Okay.
Steve's a nice guy. He's sincere.
A lot of people think that, but
they use him. No, they use him. They use him because they think it'll be more advantageous to them if he brings it out.
Is he aware of the deep state, or does he just think he's working with? I mean, I know he's aware of some stuff, obviously.
No, he knows who they are now. He didn't know who they were until they told him.
Okay.
He was like everybody else. He believed the disinformation. Oh, it's some satanic cult. Oh my God, it's this little tiny group that, oh my God. You cannot exercise that kind of power over the entire world unless you're big, huge.
Yeah. Well, there's like the Draco reptilians that are supposedly the top of the food chain above the humans that are, there's the pyramid, right? The hierarchical pyramid. And the higher up you go, you get to non-human entities. Well, that's the reptilians, right? But, that's where the debate is like, oh, they're being kicked out of the planet. And now it's like the deep state's like a chicken with its head cut off without the reptilians that used to be controlling them and leading them and, had the advantage, blah, blah, blah.
Is that accurate?
The details of how things are playing out exactly, is...
And the deep state does not want to discuss off-world politics, and they don't want to disclose off-world assets. Now, until they do, you won't know the truth about what's going on out there.
Right.
So are the reptilians, are they already kicked out? Are they still here? Is there some still here? Do you know anything?
No. There are reptilians. There are reptilian bases mostly off planet. They just have a few personnel that come and visit not visit, but
Do
they're
business?
like ambassadors. They come regularly to talk to different representatives from our planet.
Okay.
But that's the deep state. They fly into a dumb, underground dumb, or an under ocean dumb, and then they meet with different members of the 200, and they have discussions. Whatever they've been doing it for over 70 years.
Right. But now there's this changeover happening. So
Well, they know that there's going to be a changeover of power. That's why everybody's in town. That's why all these different ETs coming in. They're like, "Wow, we got to see this," and they want to, and then we want to record it from our future. We want to record it. It's great.
Right. Well, so I know in the previous episodes you talked about the sphere beings that kind of like were the catalyst to that. Essentially, they kind of rounded. So for the people that didn't see those older episodes, can you kind of go through why they're because they're not going to give up their power willingly, obviously. So
no, spirit beings are forcing them to do it.
Right.
We don't. We're primitive compared to the technology that the deep state has. I mean, they're going to start. You're going to hear accurate testimony of the real technology, and this time you're going to believe it because it's going to be told to you by the people who have possessed it and used it. Okay, so go to a question again. I get lost sometimes when I go up on a ring.
Just kind of run through the sphere being.
Oh, the outer barrier. Okay,
Yeah.
So in 1982, sphere beings tell me many things, but one of the things they said, we're going to put up an outer barrier around the planet and around the solar system. And I was like, well, okay, why? And I said, don't worry about that. You don't need to know that now. But we will tell you again when the time comes. So in 2012, contacted me again. They said, we're going to put up the outer barrier, and we want you to tell the Obama administration we're going to do it. I said, okay. So I did. And they did register. They got back to me and said, yeah, we got it. Okay, we understand. Then in December 2014, they put up the outer barrier around our planet and the solar system. The one around our planet was removed. The one around our solar system has not been removed. Ooh, nothing can get out of it. Nothing can get at it. Can't get into it without their permission. So if you apply for your permission, you have to submit to trial. Meaning any crime that you committed, you have to agree to sentencing by them. Well, nobody in the deep state would even apply because they know better. Right. So they're kind of locked in. So most of the assets left the solar system. Darkfleet was out of the solar system. Most of our assets were out of the solar system, and so only command is and a very few few assets, few draconian assets. That gave us an opportunity to attack them because they can't reinforce and they can't rebuild if we attack their facilities, which is what we did. What's been going on. But now for the last year they've been negotiating the surrender, and that's why you're seeing this now. And that's what's going on. It's going to happen. There will be a surrender. There'll be a final treaty. She and Putin are hot. Talk about we hold no animosity. That's not she and Putin. We don't want revenge. That's not she and Putin. No. They want them all executed, and they don't really care. They say, we'll trade for technology. We'll say, now they're getting to the point where, we really don't care about your technology. We actually have quite a few people that you've suppressed. They can probably reinvent a lot of that stuff on their own.
Right.
And, so, I think we'd really rather just execute you all. And so you've heard that. You recently heard that. I'll give you the proof. So I forgot who it was. It might have been Cash or someone else that said, yeah, we're going to go. Maybe Trump directly said, first, we're going to make it a terrorist act. Mexican cartel activities in the United States are going to be designated a terrorist act. And then we're going to go across the border and pick all of the leaders up. That is a huge military operation that's rolling 2 armored regiments across the border. That means he's already got an agreement with the president of Mexico and the Congress of Mexico to do that.
Wow. That's huge.
That is huge.
And then so what's your opinion on the talk of merging Canada with the US and pushing the Mexican border down to the Yucatan Peninsula where it bottlenecks? Is it just because that was rightfully ours at once and we're taking it back?
Oh, they want the ball? No. They're negotiating for all these things. Seriously negotiating for all these things. You got to understand. The deep state, for the most part, is the United States. In other words, we have the tech. All that tech belongs to us. We paid for it. Our taxpayers' money paid for that tech. It belongs to us. The act that you're supposed to go under, which they're not going to do, the act that he's supposed to go under is called the Federal Technology Transfer Act of 1986, originally 1980. Now it's 1986, and it's regulations. And it says, no, you don't give that technology to anybody else but a U.S. firm.
Really?
Well, yeah, so now he's got a real problem because now he's got to explain how he's going to get around. But that's okay. The idea is it's our technology. Most of Deepstate is mostly us, our technology. So yeah, we're going to sell it to people for land because Greenland, or hey, that Greenland's bigger than the United States, right? It's bigger than the United States, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? Bigger than all of the United States, right? Right?
Yeah.
Well, it's useless, right? Because you can't get any energy inland. It's too expensive. But with free energy, that's not an issue anymore.
Right.
So we are going to get Greenland. We are going to get the Baja. Yeah, we are going to probably annex Canada. We might even annex Mexico. Hell, people are going to go crazy when it belongs to us. It's nuts. Because everything's going to change with this technology, which we have. It's ours. So when you have free energy, you can run a house. You can have a huge garden and pools and everything. My God, they run forever and they're free. Or 10 to a penny per kilowatt, $20 a year to run your whole house. Yes, the whole that whole Greenland continent. You see, it's empty. 2,000 people in its biggest city. No, that city will have 2 million overnight.
Wow. So going back to Greer releasing these videos, so he's apparently going to release some sort of a documentary or footage of them going into these DUMBs, and it's going to be shown to the world.
Yep, and they're going to actually give you real proof.
And that's
actually evidence, not just show you some things. They're going to actually give you evidence.
And when's that supposed to happen?
Oh, he said 2 weeks. It was supposed to be the 24th, no later than the 24th of January. It might get moved up a little bit, but it's going to happen. Sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, in his own words, I've heard him in some of the most recent interviews say it's information that'll make your toes curl. And he even brought up human trafficking and, these.
He was always saying, yeah, okay, yeah, well, yeah, they're going to start talking about what they're doing. I don't know if the deep state's going to fess up to what they were doing with those people, but we do have evidence that they were doing that. And now they're going to bring out more evidence that they were doing that. So then somebody's going to have to tell us what they were doing with these people.
Yeah. I mean, he said it himself on a Newsmax interview. The guy asked him, he's like, no, I want to know what is it that's going to make our toes curl? And he's like, humans are being trafficked in reverse engineered technology. And he kind of left it at that. But I thought that was a huge statement. And I think he specifically might have said Area 51 or Dulce Base, one of the two. But obviously, we know it's global.
A lot more than just those. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, that's fine. But listen to the Trump administration. You're hearing everybody saying deep state. And now they're identifying deep state activities in detail. Now they're identifying who the deep state are. Have the vigils started yet? You know what a vigil is, right? Have the vigils started yet? Have they started? Where everybody starts camping out at the headquarters of each one of these corporations, holding up signs,
Right.
Nope, that's going to happen. Every one of these corporations is going to have vigils. Every one of these corporations that Steve is about to name, there'll be ongoing vigils at the headquarters of those corporations. That's the only way you're going to get your voice heard during this transition. And you want your voice heard. That's why I'm pretty sure that there's going to be vigils. Because they're not listening to you as individuals, people. They're ignoring you just like the deep state ignores you. And that's not cool. You want to be heard, you got to go out. This is the time to demonstrate.
Right.
Now you know who they are and where they live.
Right.
You're looking up headquarters of Raytown, headquarters of Lockheed Martin, headquarters of Bechtel. Come on, guys, it's easy.
Right. Yeah,
they always have to keep us distracted with things that don't actually matter or the little things, and no one's seeing that stuff, this is the stuff that's important, right? This is the real stuff now that we're waking up to.
So where does SpaceX come into all this, and what's the purpose?
Elon, no. Elon was promised if he had participated in the rocket ruse, that's you know what a ruse is, right? It's a con.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is disinformation. This is our highest level of technology. He was promised if he participated in that, he would be given the first spaceships for commercial transport. And also he was going to be given a colony on Mars. I think they were going to give him Prime
Ares Prime.
for his commercial tourist operation. And he was supposed to get the first ships. All right. Yeah, well, not going to happen that way. But that was basically what went down. Also, he was trying to subsume, he was trying to bring in the Russian, most of his rocket scientists are Russian scientists. And for some reason, the deep state wanted to bring them into the United States, and they had Elon doing it. There was a bunch of reasons the deep state had for using Elon.
So
They're still doing it. They're still doing it.
So
They're
is
still
the
working there.
is the deep state? They're still using Elon, but he seems to have aligned or allied with Trump. So what's
free speech? And
yeah?
seemingly.
So
You
right,
know,
seemingly. So has Elon actually?
Well, he has to get the he has to unless he gets Trump, unless he can convince Trump to give him the Floyd, he is out of business.
That's why then.
Oh,
Yeah.
so he needs Trump.
So he has ulterior motives.
No, he needs the Floyd.
Right, but he
Yeah.
needs Trump to get the Floyd.
Well, yeah, because she kicked him out of his country. And I don't know if he's ever dealt with Putin, but I do know he's dealt with she, and she kicked him out. Well, everybody forgot that? Everybody forgot that?
Okay, so this is fascinating.
Yeah, this is fascinating.
I want to go back to really quick the deep state owning. Did you say how many planets? 26 planets.
Oh, at least that was
Okay.
last time I looked. That was a long time.
So, in a nutshell, explain to somebody not listening, like the reality of the secret space programs that are operating. It's not just the deep state having colonies, but how they're using a slave labor force to basically run these colonies, and they're basically abducting people from Earth. Can you kind of explain your experience with that, or what you know about that?
Well, let's see now. I don't know for sure, and I don't have really direct knowledge, but it's my understanding that the original agreement back in the 50s wasn't Eisenhower, it was Truman, who surrendered the United States to them back in July 1952. Anyway, the agreement was that the Greys were supposed to take 1 million people a year. And that was the agreement. That's actually a written agreement. They exceeded that, so we kicked them out of our solar system. They actually didn't follow the agreements for quite some time. And as Randy Kramer told you, we had a 2.5-year legal case in the Federation of Planets, 60 species, in order to get the right to remove them from our solar system. And then that was the Battle of Ganymede, summer of 2014. We lost half of our assets in this solar system in that battle, but we did win it.
Really?
Wow.
So,
Oh, and of course, Ganymede. There are 3 galaxy-to-galaxy gates in our galaxy. Ganymede is one of them. So it's a big acquisition for the deep state.
really? So,
Huge acquisition.
as far as the reality of a secret space program where we hear of like this 20 and back stuff, can you explain what you know about that?
Oh, gosh, they're not gonna reveal that. It's which means the super soldiers won't be recognized for their accomplishments. For the United States, the 20 and back program. Let's see. I was born into the program, which means I was genetically engineered, raised in combat from the age of 2 to the age of 17 and a half. You were trained in the labs and out of the labs. So you get time regression, which means they could double train you. So you're 17 and a half, you're deployed. I was deployed from the New York Athletic Club with my commanding officers to our cruiser, Darkfleet cruiser, and then we went out and performed missions from there for 20 years. Came back to very decorated sergeant, never got above that. Sergeant Tech Sergeant Sen class, which is the Air Force ranking. I was US Air Force, and we wore our Air Force blues even when we were on ship. We didn't have to wear Nazi uniforms. Our commanding officers wore Nazi uniforms. Anyway, so yes, and then when they bring you back 20 years later, they drop you off exactly where they took you 10 minutes later. You have no idea that you served. It isn't even the same body. It's a clone, but it's still you. It's still the person. It's still the same person, but you don't remember anything. And it's very rare to get any memories back. But until the deep state starts disclosing about these programs, they don't want to disclose any right now. They don't want to disclose anything about off-board, nothing. They don't want to tell nobody about none of that stuff. And that's a big issue right now in the negotiations. But until they do that, we won't actually get recognized, meaning the supervisors.
Right. So, but that makes perfect sense, because like right now you still get online and like, could there be life out there? You know,
I was gonna say most people wouldn't believe it anyway.
Right.
They came out and suddenly told everyone that there's got to be.
I love it.
Before that.
I love Greer. I got to tell you what. So Greer's sitting there and he's kind of alluding to the fact that grays are kind of just this, electrical mechanism that the deep state made in order to put on a big psyop. Oh, by the way, the reason this isn't a psyop, I got to tell you guys, I kind of cringe every time I hear, oh, it's a psyop. They're making a fake alien invasion. Got news for you guys. If there's going to be a fake alien invasion, more than 1 million people are going to be killed with fake aliens weapons. A lot of people are going to die. If this was a fake alien invasion, oh man, you would have known it right away.
really.
1 million people would have died. 1 million people would have died the first day.
Right.
Now, as far as their grays, there are real grays. I personally met them. I talked. Unbelievable.
Well, but there's real grays, and then there's the drones that the deep state made.
Yes.
So
they were going to use that to do psyops. They had a whole bunch of psyops planned, but it was supposed to be an alien invasion where they killed a lot of people with their ships. It was
And
not
they were
going to be
stopped
this thing.
from doing. They were stopped from
little
doing
orbs, little orbs, and some drones floating around. They're here. They're here with their escorts, and they're doing scan. Every flight plan was pre-approved. Every single flight plan was pre-approved.
So basically, anything
before they came in.
right? Anything that shows up in our sky is pre-approved.
Yes.
By somebody.
Yeah. Well, no,
Right.
Deep State and Trump. No, the Trump administration worked with the Deep State on pre-approving all the flight plans for every one of them.
Okay. So whenever they get up on camera and say we have no idea, that's just all just a fluff.
Well, Trump basically says, I can't tell you yet.
Right.
I got a gag order on me.
Well, Trump actually said, because remember, Trump's not in office yet. Biden is still, and Trump said Biden knows. His administration knows. They're just not telling you. Ask them why they're not telling you. He said that.
Right.
Well, again, the Deep State refuses to disclose off-world assets. Or off-world anything. They absolutely refuse. That's a real impasse right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why the Trump admin came out and said, "Fine, we don't want your tech. We'll just execute you all. No problem."
Good.
Yeah, good.
So
yeah.
Okay, so that's interesting. So I understand that like it wouldn't. So what we're seeing now technically isn't a psyop. You said they're all actually here to see the show, to transition power.
Yeah. This is huge. The transfer power. The Deep State is extremely powerful in this galaxy and many others. Really powerful. As powerful as most advanced species, except the spear beam.
Right.
Anyway, extremely powerful, So yeah, there's a lot of people that want to come in and see this. The transfer of that kind of power into Trump stands. Oh yeah. Yeah, a lot of people are here to see the show.
There you go.
And so okay, a couple questions. So you said if there was a fake invasion, they were planning on doing like a mass killing along with it.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't believe it. It was an invasion unless a lot of people really died.
Right.
And then there's the problem reaction solution that they need to. Oh, we got to create the New World Order for safety.
Only if there were a lot of people that really died and they couldn't really stop the tech.
We have to do this because we're at war with these aliens,
and a lot of people are dying.
Right.
Werner von Braun on his deathbed over and over told Carol Rosin, the last card we're going to play is the fake alien invasion card. The last card we're going to play is the fake. He said it's all going to be a lie, but we're going to do it to implement the New World Order. He said that to her many times.
So the plan changed. That's not.
the spear being showed up.
Right.
That's what changed the plans.
Yeah.
Right. They were forced to.
I got the new marshals in town.
Right. Right.
So how was Trump chosen? Or do you know?
Well, both parties are infested with the deep state. They control both parties. They control every party throughout the world. Like Stephen Greer said, there are no boundaries. Like he's really shocked. Oh my God, I didn't know this. There are no boundaries. There are no boundaries in the deep state. They control every government the same way they control ours and have for many, many years. There are boundaries in the Earth Alliance, but not in the deep state. So what was your question?
How did they choose Trump? Like, why him?
Oh gosh.
Or do you know?
No, I'd have to think on it. It just doesn't come right to my head right away. Why they selected him? I mean, why did they select Steve?
Right.
Because he's promoting peace, kumbaya, love, and all this. And he seems pretty plausible amongst a lot of people. He's a doctor, trauma doctor,
Right.
There's they basically they might select more other than him. You guys might be next.
Right.
Hey.
Well, the Earth Alliance let you guys talk to me.
True.
Well, anyway,
Right.
so it's cool.
Well, hey, we're here for it. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
But
So you should become after this. Then, as time goes on, then you guys should be getting more big people because of this.
that would be great.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
But you guys are actually putting out the real truth. See,
Right.
Well,
Right.
that's what we try to
We're-
do anyway.
Yeah. We're not about pushing any kind of specific narrative or agenda or we're not controlled opposition but some people accuse us of that because anyone that's popular must be controlled opposition.
yeah. So some crazy old man like me comes along and say, "Oh, the dark sky, I was dark fleet, and oh my God, I did this and that, and oh my God, I got a generator, and then, everybody say, oh yeah, sure."
Right.
So, okay, I want to go back to this Bobby Ray Inman guy in the Committee of 200.
Admiral, he was Admiral Inman, and then he got out, and it was Signal Electronics. Anyway, that's one of the deep state companies.
So you said that he specifically approached you in an email. You told me he approached you to basically.
That was in the fall of '85 at the University of Colorado. I was graduating from the University of Colorado, and they were recruiting. Everybody was recruiting then. All the companies come to the campus and recruit, and I didn't go into any. I wasn't trying to. I wasn't trying to get with any of those companies. But then I was approached by Bobby Inman and his people. And they asked me to join the Navy, U.S. Navy. Yeah, the Admiral. He was the Admiral's Force. Anyway, so I told him no right away. And he's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Do you know what job we have in mind for you?" I said, "No. What do you have in mind?" He said, "Well, we want you in our top think tank as analysts to analyze world events." So that's what they have, a think tank that does that constantly. A whole bunch of people. They have many different think tanks. That was their most prestigious one. And that's your grooming into the 200. You move from there into the ruling committee of 200. So it's very high up to begin with. And that was an honor that was being given to me right out of undergraduate. I was graduating as an undergraduate, not a master's or a PhD. So they had done a lot of background and thought I should be in that group. And I told him no immediately. He said, "Why? I don't understand. Who would turn down such an offer?" Because he knew what it meant. He knew what he was offering. I kind of knew, he said, "It's the most prestigious think tank in the world." I said, "I understand that." I said, "But I just graduated with a degree in political science, which means I want to advise political scientists. Politicians and people in power, and I can't do that if." I'm gagged. I said, but you guys require me to sign an agreement. Reagan just made that law the year before. You guys require me to sign an agreement when I come into the Navy that says I will never, ever complain or say anything against the government ever the rest of my life. And I said, I can't do that. I just graduated as a political scientist. That's what we do is we criticize government. So you want me to give up the career that I just graduated and started? I said, no, not going to do it.
Well, good for
I
you.
said, you'll find out in time that I'm better as an ungagged advisor. You will find out in time.
Right. So they actually have to sign something that says they cannot speak negatively of the government.
Ever.
That makes so much sense whenever
It's the most communist
But-
thing I've ever heard in my life.
but whenever you listen to some of these whistleblowers who
Yeah.
like these old guys, like the 85-year-old physicist, quantum physicist in Sedona,
Mhm. That's how he was.
he was defending the government at all costs, but almost like he had just he signed a paper and had been doing it for so long that he programmed himself to
Yep.
believe that the government was
There you go.
good.
Well, I'm sorry. Not everybody signs that paper. Reagan just enacted a law that says every CIA agent has to sign that paper.
Okay.
So that means everybody in the clandestine services has to sign that paper.
Well,
I was entering the clandestine services of the Navy.
he technically
Yeah,
was
intel.
He
too.
technically was. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So it would make sense to me why some of these guys have that stance because they
He could have still been worried about what would happen, even if he was technically not under that.
well, he was
He
that.
was okay.
I mean, that's why he told me. He's like, oh, they told him that if he shared the information on camera, that the person
That's right.
with the footage wouldn't make it across the street alive. So,
Yeah, they signed an agreement that says that that's what they could do. They actually tell you in the agreement.
right. Wow, that's fascinating. So you dodged that bullet, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of knew what was going on, and I basically said, well, as long as you don't put a gag order on me and I can leave when I want to, sure, I'll do it. He says, no, can't do that. And I said, well, then I will consult.
Right. So you put out a white paper to the Trump administration proposing your Overunity generator.
No,
and-
no. That is not what that white paper was for. That white paper is for a strategic business plan for the release of zero-point energy technologies. That white paper was to advise Trump as to what he's doing right now. Isn't that what they're doing right now? Strategically planning the release of zero-point energy technologies. So I kind of figured out what they were doing, and I popped the correct proposal. That was the correct proposal, not my generator. That was the correct proposal. I told him, you start there, and then we'll go over here. You show me a strategic business plan, and then I'll show you my generator.
So then you said did they offer you any money to do?
They offered me 60 grand, and they wanted me to do it in a few months. That's because they were currently engaged in negotiations. They didn't have time to do the study that I proposed. I proposed a 2-year study. They wanted a 2-year study. They wanted it immediately, and they were going to give me 15 grand for 3 months to kick it, that'll be fine. The problem is I'm on welfare. You take in that kind of money, they just deduct it dollar per dollar. So that doesn't really help me. I was kind of really trying to get a job. But when they release zero-point energy technology, then I do have a job. I have investors that want, as soon as the Trump administration releases the right to develop that technology and sell it, then I'll be working. It's supposed to be July, but who knows?
Right.
Right.
So but that's interesting that they even replied to you. I mean,
Oh yeah. Well, no, I talk every day with them.
okay.
This is
Okay.
and I'll tell you, this is Fort Liberty. Not too many people know about Fort Liberty. I think it's got they actually tell you they have 65,000 scientists on the regular base. That's not the amount of scientists they have under the base. They have somewhere between 200, 300,000 scientists under the base. The Deepstate, one of their major research and development bases is under Fort Liberty. So, and I talked to all of Fort Liberty leadership, all the generals, all the currents, all, and I still like, not all of them, just one. I have one contact, but they listen,
So
and they listen here, which is really cool. You guys don't understand the service you do, but you will.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank
hearing
you.
that. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Fort Liberty, where is that?
Oh, North Carolina.
Okay, North Carolina.
Oh, Terry Eddy. My God, Terry Eddy. Admiral. it's hard to tell because he says everybody's Terry 80, but then one time I found out he's really Eddie Terry, Admiral, 4 stars. So he is actually the current, well, he was the current commander of TMC, Temporal Management Command, when I met him, which is in 2014. Anyway, so he's that guy. What was the guy you were looking for again?
What guy? Inman's? The guy that Greer is going to bring out?
No, he's not that guy. Anyway, Terry Eddie heads up Temporal Management Command, and I forgot what I was going to tell you about him, but
So
he's a real important figure. Temporal Management Command. That's the guy that gives all the assignments. Like he was the one that commanded, not Terry Eddie, but Bagley was the 4-star. David Bagley was the one that commanded Andrew Bisagio's assignments. Commanded all the temporal missions, temporal command missions, temporal operations, temporal command operations. They basically go, mostly they're there to keep the natural timeline, and anybody that disturbs the natural timeline, they have to go back and fix it.
Okay, so let's talk a little more about that. So there's an actual temporal management position.
Yeah.
Command.
Temporal Management Command out of the Navy, US Navy.
Okay, and they have people that essentially monitor timelines and
they monitor time by putting different they have technology that does that now, but originally they used to actually place people in the future, like a monastic group of priests, because nobody really bothers them or asks them any questions. So it was easy for them to separate themselves from the other people during the time period, because they were supposed to keep themselves, isolated. And then they observe what's going on in the future or in the past to see if any timeline changes. But now we have technology to do that, see if there's any temporal deviations from the natural timeline, the way it's supposed to occur naturally. But when somebody goes and it changes time, then the Temporal Management Command has to go and fix that error, because it's an error. You can't just go back and change time. That's against the law. It's against temporal. And everybody does. Every vast species has the same law. It's not like just us,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody does this. Every advanced species has their own temporal management command, and they all go and they all have to police their timeline or timelines that they're involved in to make sure that nobody goes in and changes them. See, what's really interesting is once you discover the sixth force, which Nikola Tesla did in 1890, you just you very quickly learn how to travel through time physically, your body right through time, past, forward. That's very dangerous. But that's why everybody has a temporal management command, and that's their assignment.
Right.
Every advanced species does that.
So, yeah, I mean, this is something we've been covering more and more of lately, and it's coming up just in general is time travel. I think the collective is getting to the understanding that it exists. Obviously, we know guys like you and Andrew Basiago and, obviously Tesla and his teleporters. So this stuff has been happening since the late 1800s. It's really interesting what you just said about the groups that go into the future that were like the priests. But like you said, they have technology that does that now. What would that technology look like? An orb? Would that be?
Yeah, well, it could be underground. The idea is it's there to detect any temporal timeline disturbances. It's hard for me to explain how you do that in physics. I mean, it's
right.
Your level of physics and knowledge is going to increase tremendously over this next year once they start talking about all this stuff. You go, oh my God, they do that, and this is how it works. Everybody's going to get a huge influx of physics over the next year that they're just going to be so amazed at. But at the end of the year, you're going to start talking physics with each other, the high level physics. It's kind of cool. But yeah, they are able to detect with scanners and monitors temporal deviations. Let me give you an example. You've heard of that, the guy that says there's a little squiggly on the Ford letter, but now there's not.
Mandela effect.
That's true. You see, so when you know what happened in the past and you see what's current, you can see the deviation. It's not hard.
There's a lot of them. People are calling them Mandela effects based on people remembering Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 80s, and then
yeah,
you're like, wait, no, he's still alive and then died later. That doesn't.
Yeah, but that's the disinformation.
So it got called the Mandela effect, but there's hundreds of them, and there's people with their own personal ones as well.
Yes.
Wait, you said what's disinformation?
It's not Mandela. They're not making an error. These were actually real time changes.
Right.
These actually really occurred. It's not somebody's imagination.
Well, no, right. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying
That's what
why.
they-
Right. But there's the whole debate of like people are just misremembering, but then there's a whole bunch of people saying, no, something changed in the time.
That's correct. Right.
Which I know of is what it
Yeah.
actually is. But then the question is, how did that happen? There's people that say, oh, CERN caused it. Oh, this caused it, that caused it.
No, Temporal Management Command did it. They
Right.
are the ones that are trying. There was a huge deviation, and you can't correct it all at once. It has to be done. Randy Kramer, little nudges, little missions over many, many years. You have to nudge it back. You can't get it back like that. Will never work.
Now, okay,
So-
so let me ask you this. Whenever they make a jump into the future or past, how do they know what's gonna change? Like the squiggly on the squiggly on the
Oh, as soon as they see it, because they saw it originally in the past. When they're in the past, they saw it when it was that way. And then when they jumped in the future, it had a little squiggly. They know somebody's been playing around with time.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you'll know where that person went in time based on what changes.
No, they know that there was a temporal deviation by observing. They notice the change. Okay. So there's a temporal deviation. Now they have to investigate to find out who did it, what they did, and how to correct it.
Right.
But can it always be corrected?
No, it takes nudges over many times, many years. And then it's a constant program. These poor guys, the ones that are in the program. Oh my God, the guys that are in Temporal Management Command.
What would happen if they didn't do anything? If they just left it alone? If something changed from them going back?
Then the people that are changing the timeline. Well, if we don't take care of it, then someone else will. Meaning
Someone else will. Okay.
Another advanced species in the Galactic Federation. Any one of them will step in and do it for us.
Would step
We
in.
can't do it for ourselves, then they'll step in and take care of it, business for us. It has to be corrected.
Okay.
So, and then I guess I would imagine early on when they were playing around with this technology, lots of things were changing and they didn't know what they were changing.
Right. And then the Galactic Federation comes down and says, guess what, boys? You got to go back and fix it.
So
That's the law.
They leave it up to
You
us.
can't become a member of our federation unless you fix those errors. You can't become a member until you fix those errors.
Right.
Mm.
Right. So that's so fascinating to think of. So it's not just about fixing the timeline, but it's fixing their mistakes so they can essentially join the Federation.
Yeah, you can't be an outlaw and become a member of the Federation. There were over 3,000 spacefaring species in this galaxy alone. There were only 60 in the galaxy that rule it. And we are up to become the 61st member. If we show that we are not outlaws. Outlaws don't fix their mistakes. Outlaws don't fix their deviations in time. There are other requirements. I'm just telling you one of them.
Right. Yeah, that's absolutely fascinating. So there are individuals, whenever they have to like course correct the timeline, they just literally like an individual or a team goes back or forward and makes the adjustment.
Gosh, Andy L. Pizzaglio actually accurately described a mission where he walked in and told Washington, you need to retreat right now. And then someone said, well, wait a second. I mean, did you just change time? And he said, well, no, actually, we were there to correct a mistake that we'd made previously. But he didn't describe the mistake.
Right.
No. But he actually explained in detail exactly how he did the mission.
Right. Yeah, his testimonies stand up. I think it's standalone. It's solid.
Well, people are going to all go back and pay attention now.
Right. I mean,
Right.
to me, you can feel when certain people are telling
Yes.
the truth. And
Well, the fact that he ran for president too, it's
Right.
like a con
I
artist isn't
don't
going
know
to do
what
that.
that was about. There was a reason for that. He was supposed to. It was part of it. It was one of his time management missions where he was supposed to be. It allowed him to perform one of his time management missions. Kind of weird to explain why,
Okay.
but it allowed him to make associations and contacts you can't do unless you're running for president.
Oh,
And he had to be able to get close to those people, or maybe he was also managing missions and he had children that were going to do this mission. Anyway, it was all part of that program.
It
Interesting.
makes me wonder about Patrick Riley, and because he recently ran for
That's
president
right.
in a
He did
weird,
the same thing.
yeah, and it didn't make sense why he would.
Right. Maybe there's something
Yeah.
like that with.
But there you go. See, well, you guys are going to start re-examining everything when this stuff starts coming out. You're just going to re-examine everything.
So much is going to make sense in hindsight of like this new information. I feel like you were like, that's why that, that's what was really going on there.
But this is an extremely exciting time. So many different species are so excited about this moment, this event. I wish you could share the excitement, not be afraid.
Right.
I mean, we aren't afraid.
We're super excited.
We've been trying to, like, I get on like X and I see people think the whole world's going down in flames.
There's a lot of people in
and they think that Trump getting in is like solidified. It's like the nail in the coffin and we're all going to die now. But I think it's the exact opposite. And it's hard to explain to somebody who hasn't been paying attention, who doesn't even understand stuff like that we're talking about. Not that we understand it all, but we at least entertain these concepts long enough to understand, like, okay, we can paint a picture of what's really going on here. So, yeah, I really appreciate that. And going back to Fort Liberty, which was Fort Bragg, was it?
Bragg? Yeah, well, Bragg was a Confederate general.
Okay, and so there's what? Hundreds of thousands of scientists allegedly working there. Is that where all of the like free energy tech and time travel tech is being developed out?
Yes.
And
many of the deep state developments were done in that lab. Also Los Alamos. Gosh, I could start naming these really cool labs, but they're going to start disclosing where these dumps are. And there's labs under every one of them, and they have different functions. Remember, they compartmentalize everything, which means when you're working on this little piece, you don't have any idea as to what you're working on. You ain't got a clue.
Right.
You have to have over 100 deep state labs to do that on any project.
Right. So, I know, like, I think it's like Kings Peak, Utah, or whatever. Somewhere in Utah, I know, is where allegedly Area 51 moved to after it got too popular.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. All their best scientists and all of their best labs are off-world, where you can't reach them.
Right, but I mean, we have base labs here too.
Yes, yes, but all the primary labs where the real advanced stuff is done here.
Okay, so how many of our actors, our politicians, are actually from another planet?
Oh, no, sorry. That was outlawed. The Federation outlawed that. They made an agreement with the inner Earth beings back in the Muhammad period. That's why it's called the Muhammad Accord. That was one of the agreements, and they pretty much kept it. There are people here, they're observers mostly. They're not here to interfere, but they're all pre-approved. Every person that's an alien that's here is pre-approved, but they're not involved in our political system.
Right.
Those for the most part were all lackeys of the deep state. They didn't want them to be aliens. Take the risk that they get discovered. Sorry, guys.
What about the royal family being potentially reptilian?
No.
Or Draco bloodline?
Sorry. Oh, you mean? Oh, there's some talk that there was a hybrid, right? You're starting to see hybrids. Yeah, they're going to start showing you hybrids, but none of them are allowed to participate in any politics or any government. The deep state controls all of that. They don't want any of the Federation doesn't do that. That's one of the agreements they made. But that's the reason they don't want to talk about aliens or we talk to aliens, because they don't want to start talking about all the agreements they have with them, or just how many of them we talk to.
Right.
I don't want to divulge that yet.
That's what I mean. Like, I wouldn't say they're like full blown alien, but they have like this, they seem to have a reptilian hybrid type of DNA.
Yeah, but they don't engage in any interference with any of our activities. If they're here to observe, or they're just here to live.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I mean, do you have any other
Well,
questions?
as far
And
as
all pre-approved. There are no aliens on this planet that are not pre-approved and constantly watched by
yeah,
the deep state.
because from what I can tell, they don't want people, up until recently, and we're at the final card at the end time, so to speak, for them, because now they want everyone to know aliens are real, but only under the guise of it's a threat, and we need to protect the planet from the threat, and because it goes along with the whole.
Yeah. Well, there's no ceasefire yet, which means the deep state is still at war with
Right.
you, the public.
Right. But before this current period where they're, suddenly UFOs are real and aliens are probably real, but it's all a threat, blah, blah, blah. Before that, they didn't want you to think aliens were real at all. They would ridicule it. They would deny UFOs ever being real. It's all, something explainable or people lying or blah, blah, blah. And we went from decades and decades of that to, on a dime, flip switch. Suddenly it's all in mainstream media. The governments they're having hearings, they're talking about it. There's an agenda there, right? Of course, there's an agenda, but they have to steer the narrative to what they want you to believe about it, instead of being like, let's all figure out what this is and tell you any truth. They're only going to tell you what's going to serve that agenda, right?
Yeah.
Simultaneously seeing that play out, at the same time, there is this mass awakening that people are like doing their own research and having their own experiences, and being like, some people are starting there, being like, hey, I first took this seriously because I saw this mainstream media article, or I saw the government hearings, or blah, blah, blah. These politicians were talking about blah, blah, blah. But then they started going beyond that, instead of letting, staying in that little box that they always want to keep people in. Right.
Right.
So I see it's like, it's just serving the awakening. They're trying to steer everyone into fear in their narratives.
You got to start hearing that there are different factions of the deep state. You recognize the factions because they're different small groups inside the 200. Like Inman represents a certain faction. I know because I had discussions with him. I know what faction he represents. Marilyn Houston led, like I told you before, led the both the women's faction and the faction that wanted full release, full disclosure, and to transfer power back to the proper authorities in the United States. That was her push. She's the one who was the major proponent of that. Now you're going to hear one of the actually retired 200 is going to come out and start talking about the different factions. Of course, there was the Nazi faction that started it all, but they're not the ruling faction anymore. And once you start hearing about the factions, then everyone's, the Nazis are the one in charge, and everyone's ruling, and I don't know how that's going to play out, but it'll be fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's another big thing that got hit is everyone thinks we beat the Nazis in World War II. And, no one knows that what you disclosed is that they actually did a forced surrender.
July
and they've
19,
actually been
July 1952. Yeah. July 1952. They came in, they flew 36, I believe it was 36 saucers over the Capitol, and they were there for 6 hours. They beamed out. Remember, there was a long time, Dan Willis was saying, there's no such thing as transporters. Everybody was saying, no, there's no such thing as transporters. It just didn't want you to know that the Nazis beamed down into the Capitol. The Washington Post of that date said they hovered over the Capitol for 6 hours, and all of a sudden that got removed from the Washington Post after I had told everybody that I just read it to the Washington Post. Anyway, 6 hours over the Capitol, it beamed down, 600 stormtroopers.
Many eyewitnesses to that as well, by the way. Many people saw those ships.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hovering over.
Hovering.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hovering.
But the real witnesses are the people who actually signed the surrender instrument. They brought them all in to the chambers, and then they said, okay, well, sign the surrender, die. Here, right now.
Right.
And and more. They made more threats, but then they all signed it. But you got to understand, see, what was so big about that particular day is that was the day when they were going to vote on the patent law changes. It was a huge, giant change in the patent law. So the big companies at the time were there. And every politician wanted to vote, was there. Everybody was there. And they knew that. Nazis knew that, which is why they came that day.
Really
interesting.
So I have a question unrelated to this. It's about Salvatore Pius. In a previous interview, you told me that he had passed away, but it was a group operating under his name.
I was trying to flush him out.
Oh, were you?
It's my way of trying to flush him out because I knew that they were going to bring him out, and I was trying to flush him because I wasn't too sure whether it was just they were just a group or it was him. But that's not his technology. For example, the inertial mass reduction device that was actually invented by Nikola Tesla in 1927. He actually patented it then. So these devices, they're actually inferior devices. They don't utilize any of the higher forces. So they're recruitment tools. So he's recruiting for the cabal. I'm sorry, we're calling it Deepstate now. So he's recruiting, and those are recruitment tools. None of them work. I'm sorry. The fusion reactor is too expensive. That's 60 cents a kilowatt hour. It has to be on the grid, so it ends up being 60 cents a kilowatt hour. So that doesn't work. That's not free energy, guys. The inertial mass reduction device is no good in the heterosphere, so it's only good in the solar system and not interstellar. It has problems. Again, that there are more advanced ways of doing that. That is the very first way that we discovered how to do it. And so it's a recruitment. It's a test. They're recruiting. They're testing. Right? Can you tell us how that? Can you read those equations? Oh, cool. You're in our. We want you.
Really?
These are purely recruitment tests. None of that is good tech.
Right. See
It's
who's
all bad tech, actually. It's all bad tech.
See who's going to actually, well, for one, react to the patent. See who's going to actually look at it and like, oh, I can this is wrong, or I can solve this, and then they recruit that person. They
put out a lot of recruitment tests. Are many different kinds. Most that the Deep State use, they put out have errors in them, and they want to see if you can find the errors. PIASs don't have any errors. That they just want you to be able to explain the equations and explain how it works. And if you can do that, then you go to the next recruitment test.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this has been absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you wanted to share that we didn't cover today before?
I always forget that part. The last time YouTube is still hot to trot, they won't let me respond to any of your comments. If you comment on this video, I can't comment back.
On YouTube.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, YouTube took our main channel down, so we're primarily on Rumble now, but we have a backup YouTube. So you might be able to reply on Rumble.
I don't know. We don't know yet, but it's possible. That's just one of the things I want to let you know.
Yeah. Okay.
The other thing is you gotta. This is the time to get involved, and you get involved by putting in your 2 cents. Anywhere you can. I mean, your senators, your representatives. I mean, everywhere you're legally allowed to put your 2 cents in, and any way you're legally allowed to put your 2 cents in. This is it. This is the time. This is like, gosh, this is a very historic moment throughout the history of this galaxy.
Yeah, not just this planet, this galaxy.
No, yeah.
Right.
So this is the time, and you're here, and you're a citizen of the United States. You get to put your 2 cents in now. Do it, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
We have been.
Now's the time to step up for everyone.
Right.
Now's time and say, I have a voice. Hey, I belong to this democracy. I have a voice, and I need you to listen to me.
Right.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
Well, thank you so much, Dan, for joining us, and we'll stay in touch, and we can do this again as you know, as soon as you'd like to come back.
That's unraveled. Sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. You know.
Right. We'll see what happens, but yeah, this was great. Thank you, and I don't think you have any contact information you want to put public, do you?
Oh, me? No.
Okay. I didn't think so, but because people are going to inevitably be like, how did we contact him? So
no, through you, they got to contact you.
Okay.
We're the middleman.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you. Thanks for joining us tonight. And thank you guys all for tuning in. We love you. Like I always say, we can't do this without you. Thanks for the support. Make sure you go follow us over on X, sign up for our Patreon. It's only $5 a month. And if you want to join our conference this year, it's in May 12th through the 15th in Grafton, Illinois. And all that information is below in the description at journeytotruth.online. So grab a ticket and come hang out with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. And until next time, have a great evening. Good night.
Yeah, guys.
Good night.
Hello, and welcome to Conference Phone. If you know the name of the conference you'd like to attend, press 1.
Come on.
Using your touch-tone keypad, please enter the first 3 letters of the conference title now. You've selected Secret Space Conference? If that is correct, press 1.
What?
You've selected Full Disclosure Now. If this is correct, press 1. Why don't you just tell me the name of the conference you'd like to attend?
Rebels of Disclosure?
To find the venue nearest you, please enter your 5-digit zip code now. Why don't you just tell me where you want to attend the conference?
Pierre Marquette Lodge and Conference Center?
Rebels of Disclosure is playing at the Pierre Marquette Lodge and Conference Center in Grafton, Illinois, May 12th through 15th, 2025.
Yeah, now I got you.
If you would like to purchase tickets, please visit journeytotruth.online now.